You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hello and welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Tyler Maughan, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill. Sam has returned from the Arizona Fall League, back in the same room as Ben, and soon all three of us might be in the same room because coming out there at the end of November, and I'm going to force my smiling face upon both of you. How are you guys?
That sounds like the biggest threat one can give with
That's
the word
exactly how I
smiling.
intended it. Exactly how I intended it.
Aren't you happy to see me? He's like, yes.
Yeah, this is my Halloween horror movie.
We're going to use some special words for the audience during that episode to just let them know we are in distress that you won't pick out, and I won't say them, but they'll know. Well,
it's fitting. It is Halloween week, and we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us on the official podcast of minor league baseball. You can, of course, as always, get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. Send us your off-season thoughts, your questions, anything else you got. And we're going to kick things off with this week's edition of Ben's Biz Banter, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball, talking about some Halloween-related things. You are hearing this episode on Halloween, or at least it entered your feed on Halloween. If you're not listening to it on Halloween, it seems like a you problem. But Ben, we've got a Halloween identity specifically from a team in the Midwest League. The Beloit Skycarp have come out with a Halloween identity. Take us through the Beloit Eerie Wearies.
Yeah, it's no coincidence. This was released in October. In fact, on a recent episode of this podcast, we talked about the other new alternate identity released in October. That was the Winston-Salem Carolina Reapers with the Grim Reaper logo. Now we have the Beloit Eerie Wearies. So we have two teams releasing in October to try to capitalize on the spooky Halloween vibes emanating throughout America and the world right now. The Beloit Eerie Wearies. Kind of a strange name, even by the standards of minor league baseball alternate identities, especially when you have a team already in minor league baseball who plays in Erie. So they're not the Beloit. They're not trying to take anything from the Seawolves. They're just using the adjective Erie with two E's.
Three E's.
Oh, yeah, three E's. Starts with
two E's in the beginning. There's one in the end. Yeah. There's an R and an I in there somewhere.
Per usual. What would I do without Sam? The Eerie Wearies with three E's. E-E-R-I. Wait, E-E-R-I-E. Yes. That's how you spell Erie. Eerie Wearies. And the Eerie Weary, that's a reference to Weary Road in Evansville, Wisconsin, which is located about 25 miles northwest of Beloit. So you can go online and Google Weary Road, and you'll find all sorts of urban legends, tall tales, speculations. This is a street not far from the town of Beloit, which is in southern Wisconsin, that has a reputation for supernatural goings-ons and just being spooky in general. And if you look at a picture of it, it's a narrow, the team describes it as a quiet country road with a winding path. But there are these trees. It's lined with trees on each side that overhang the road on both sides, giving it a real naturally eerie vibe. So I'm guessing the fact that this road, I'm not trying to be a skeptic, I'm guessing just the fact that this road seems kind of eerie just in general led people to start telling stories about it. The team, says drivers often report flickering lights, shifting shadows, and a mist that seems to rise from nowhere, creating an air of mystery that has fascinated locals for generations. I like this kind of stuff. I can imagine being a teenager if I grew up around that area and being like, what are we gonna do tonight? Let's go drive down Weary Road and see
They
if
didn't do
anything
themselves
weird
any
happens.
favors by naming it Weary Road. If they had named it like
Yeah,
Jenkins Road, nobody would have been like, "Have you heard about a
The
Erie,
Janky
Erie
Jenkins.
yeah,
Dang
yeah.
it,
I mean,
Sam.
yeah, Erie Weary's, yeah, Weary Road helped a lot to create this, just the name of it itself. And the logo is a car, like an old-fashioned, muscular-looking car, a sedan of, let's say, the 1930s, 40s, going down Erie Road with the trees kind of bending towards the car, almost seeming like they're coming to life, but not quite. But if you're driving down that road and maybe you're not in the best frame of mind, you can see those trees coming to life, the branches just getting closer and closer, tapping the window, trying to get in, trying to draw you into the other world, into the world of a miasma of death
And foliage.
and foliage.
So the trees are
What is autumn if not a miasma of death and foliage?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to be completely myself here for a moment and just say this road reminds me of the Dark Hedges in Northern Ireland, which people might know as a filming location for Game of Thrones. And that's immediately where my mind went to. It's kind of a similar vibe of trees just bending over this road. So people like to go and get their picture taken. I think that has even though it's called the Dark Hedges, it has a happier memory for most folks. But it was part of the filming for Game of Thrones because it had just such a cinematic quality to it. So hey, future Game of Thrones installments, if you want to maybe do something a little cheaper, go to Weary Road.
Yeah,
and
go
film
to
something
Beloit,
there.
Wisconsin, near Beloit, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
call out one thing from the Beloit Sky Carp before we're going to talk a little bit more about Halloween stuff. But there is something that I noticed on the Beloit website that I just find very cool. The Sky Carp are giving away their batting turtle. And if you don't know the terminology, that's the roundish half dome shaped thing that players hit under during batting practice on the field. Now, they should have called it their batting snapper. They used to be the Beloit Snappers, turtles. That would have made a lot more sense. But they're giving away their turtle. You can submit a 1 minute video explaining why your team, or I would imagine your school or your whatever, deserves the tunnel. You post the story on social media. You tag the Beloit Sky Carp. You get shares. You do all that. And then you email your submission to the team. You can get all these details at milb.com/Beloit. This is very, very cool, though. That is a really expensive piece of equipment. But that's like a game changer. If you're a high school or a youth team or whatever, and you have access to a field and all of that, but you don't have a batting turtle, that is a complete upgrade on everything you can do. And I find that very cool. So kudos to the Sky Carp for doing that. I think that's a really, really cool thing. The deadline for submissions for that is December 1st, but I just happened to come across that and that's very cool.
Yeah, I want teams to get very creative in that.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like a great opportunity to share some ideas.
This might be like a future show before the show interview now that now that we're talking about this out loud. But I feel like if somebody really knocks this out of the park, we might have to talk to whoever ends up getting this turtle. And like, how do you
And just imagine, being like a 13-year-old batting from a turtle.
Yeah.
We did not have that.
No. That would be the coolest thing ever.
No, but you're right, Tyler. I mean, the fact that the Beloit's team was previous to being the Sky Carp, they were the Snappers, and their logo was a turtle, and their mascot was a turtle. When you just see this headline giving away a batting turtle, my mind didn't go to the practical nature of a batting turtle.
No.
I was thinking like, oh, that's some quirky thing from Pullman's Field, their own hand, their old former ballpark, and it took me a second to reconfigure my mind to like, oh, it just happens to be called a turtle. Like in Beloit, you can't just say you're giving away a turtle. It just makes it seem like you're giving away like a literal turtle. Or
and their logo was a turtle who was batting. That was the Sky.
Yeah.
Logo. He was batting. It was the cutest. They had the cutest little minor league logo. He looked like he was about 6 years old. He had his hat on backwards. It was adorable. But yeah, they're not giving away an actual turtle. They are giving away an actual turtle, but not a living turtle. Not an amphibian. Is a turtle an amphibian? I think it's an amphibian. Okay, dudes. Well, we touched on that Halloween shift from the Sky Carp. Halloween identities have come along in recent years. Do you guys have a favorite Halloween or Halloween related identity?
I'm going to go with something that's fairly new. It's not even an identity or an alternate identity. It's just a line of specific merchandise. But we can do that in a discussion about Halloween. Is if you recall a few years ago, there was a New York Post columnist, I forget her name, and it was just like Rochester called a stray in her column. I forget what she was writing about, but she referred to Rochester as grim and depressing. The city of Rochester, New York, is grim and depressing, and the Red Wings just seized on that and be like, yeah, we are grim and depressing. Like the kind of thing like, hey, we can make fun of ourselves, you can't. And they actually invited this columnist to a game, and she wrote a follow-up column about like what she liked about Rochester. I mean, they totally owned it. But they came out with this like line of grim and depressing merchandise, and some of it actually said like grim and depressing on it. And I think people who live in Rochester who love their town were also love the idea to kind of make fun of it at the same time a little bit. So recently, and I'm sure the timing is not coincidental, being the month of October, the Red Wings relaunched. Now they're just calling it their Grim Collection, and it's black Red Wings gear, where the Red Wing, the bird on the logo in question, is done up as a Grim Reaper, and the jersey actually says Grim Wings. And so I don't think they've ever. I'm not sure if they've ever worn this in a game. But just the fact that they have an alternate Grim collection where the team name is Grim Wings, and this whole idea comes from a New York Post columnist calling the city, grim and depressing. And yeah, Maureen Callahan, Sam has got it. Sam found her follow-up column. Rochester isn't so grim and depressing anymore. So they got this big city columnist to come to their little backwater city and be forced to reckon with the fact that it's a pretty good town.
And the whole original column was about New Yorkers losing their blank over Wegmans in Brooklyn.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And she was just like, what's so special about Wegmans, which is another thing to attack that people from Rochester are very proud of. So they were just firmly in the crosshairs, and congrats to them for owning that. And apparently after 2 years, she finally made it up there for Grim and Depressing Night. Yeah. And wrote another column about it. So she got something out of it, but the Red Wings also got something.
Yeah, and now you can get merch with
Grim and Depressing.
The Grim and Depressing merch, and now just the Grim collection. Check it out if you like grim merchandise.
I'm absolutely going to milb.com/Rochester right now. Sam, you got a favorite Halloween/spooky season identity?
I mean, the mind immediately goes to, and I think this is our default, and we bring them up more than any other defunct team. The Casper Ghost is obviously
that was going to be mine.
Yeah, where I was going to go with that. Second place might be Medicine Hat, and name that dude segment. I feel like we bring up Medicine Hat a lot, but that could be that'd be a good big Halloween costume.
That'd be a good.
What are you going as? Medicine Hat?
That'd be a great Halloween costume, and it was the Medicine Hat Blue Jays for a lot of years. So wear like a Blue Jays uniform, but instead of a Blue Jays hat, like
put a red cross on it and just be like, yeah, this is Medicine Hat.
Or just like put some or tape some like pill bottles and
exactly.
Various prescriptions and medicines to your the top of your Blue Jays hat. Be like, I'm a Medicine Hat Blue Jay. No one would get it.
No one would get it. No one would get it. The only party where that would be a hit would be the three of us in a party together, alone, or being in Medicine Hat. The only spots where I think anybody would find that funny.
I would love to know the percentage of Medicine Hats in Medicine Hat. Like the Halloween parade in Medicine Hat.
There has to have been some Medicine Hat. Well, all right, that's something to look at.
Anyways, we've gone down this whole thing, which my original point was about the Casper Ghosts. I don't know who could own it. Like, would there be a minor league team that could just have like a throwback night to the Casper Ghosts? I would like to see that somehow.
I don't think so anymore, because it was the Grand Junction Rockies who changed, moved into the Pioneer League as an independent league. They were the Grand Junction Jackalopes. I believe they have now moved or are going to be moving. There's also a story now that the Rocky Mountain Vibes have gone under. So there's a whole changeover in that, but they would have been the Casper Ghosts. They would have been the ones who inherit the Casper Ghosts.
Right.
Yeah, weird.
We'll have to figure that out. But that's immediately and almost like the spiritual cousin of the Casper Ghosts in my head is the Asheville Tourists, because they have the glow in the dark hat.
Oh, yeah.
What stands out about the Casper Ghosts is that their hat used to actually glow in the dark. You could see the ghost come out, and the actual tourists have that with the moon,
So
I believe, as well.
So cool.
Which is great ideas on both sides of the Mississippi there. But yeah, that's immediately where my mind goes to. So I'll mention it quick. Tyler, any Halloween stuff on your mind?
Yeah, I would have picked the ghosts also, but instead I'm gonna go to Erie, the other Erie, not the Erie Weary's Erie, but the Erie Seawolves Erie. The Seawolves have the Howling Dead Red. Maybe it's just the Howling Dead. Are they just the Howling Dead, Ben, and the hat is red? Is that's why I listed as Howling Dead Red? Anyway, they've got
Yeah.
like a skeleton-looking version of their wolf logo. And I find it very cool. I think that one's very, very cool. Erie does such a good job, man. They do like everything Erie does, logo and uniform wise these days is
They
fun.
also have Halloween jerseys
Right.
that they've worn during the game where they spell Erie,
Yeah.
going back to our discussion of spelling Erie, where Erie, the town, Erie, they actually spell Erie, Eerie, and have
Yeah.
spooky jerseys.
It's very good. Okay, well, we're talking about alternate identities as we so often do over the off season, but we go back to actually the last week of the regular season in Worcester, Massachusetts, where these kind of came in a little bit under the radar, but the Woo Sox, the Worcester Red Sox, they dropped not one, not two, but three alternate identities at the end of the regular season, Ben.
They did. We're trying to making a promise to you to try to mention every new alternate identity that is released for the 2026 season. And we didn't talk about this one yet because it was in September. It kind of slipped through the radar. The Woo Sox released three alternate identities for 2026, one of which is not new. And we think this is a new category. It's essentially a throwback alternate identity. But the Woo Sox in 2026 will play at least one game as the Pawtucket Hot Wieners. So they're not like so they were the Hot Wieners when, obviously Worcester used to be the Pawtucket Red Sox and they relocated to Worcester. When they were in Pawtucket, I believe it was in 2018, they had an alternate identity called the Hot Wieners, which is their salute to the Rhode Island style hot dog with all the fixins. It's like meat sauce and mustard and chopped onions,
yeah,
maybe some celery salt. So they had a Pawtucket Hot Wieners alternate identity. So I've never seen a team relocate and then bring back an alternate identity using the place name of the place they relocated from. I think this is a first.
This is
so it's not new, but
this is like
if you're
something
going,
the three of us would find interesting, and I feel like Todd Radom would find interesting. But this might
I
be
know
the
there's
first-
listeners to the show.
Oh yeah,
I know,
we will totally.
I know there's some weirdo heads who
Yeah.
are like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Has a
But it would
team
be-
ever relocated and brought back an alternate identity while using the place name of the
Yeah.
city they relocated?
It's the first, so it's like a throwback uniform, but it is a throwback alternate identity uniform to a different location. We've never had that before that I'm aware of. We haven't had that many teams move that were doing alternate identities and all that type of stuff. But yeah, this is like this checks some very unique boxes for us.
I know Worcester has tried to do as best a job as they can of keeping that tie with Pawtucket, leaving Rhode Island in general, going to Worcester, it's a bigger city, closer to the affiliate in Boston, right down the road, right down the pike. But yeah, I've been there actually for a day where it was like Paw Sox Day at the Woo Sox Stadium at Puller Park. And they had the old mascots there as well, on top of Smiley, on top of the other current mascots. So this is just another way of tying them to that Pawtucket past, proving that they're not out of mind. Especially,
cool.
You want to keep that like there is no minor league team in Rhode Island. You want them to be your fans still and still make that drive up to Worcester.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a new one, and the logo for the Hot Wieners is a wiener dog, encased in a hot dog bun with the fixins on his back. So, and then like kind of flames coming out of that to connotate the fact that he's hot. But we also have the Worcester Art of the Woo, which the logo for that is the iconic yellow smiley face, which was created in Worcester and then formed the basis for the Worcester Red Sox or the Woo Sox mascot, Smiley, the smiley ball. The Art of the Woo logo has the yellow smiley face with a baseball hat turned askew, spray painting. He's doing some graffiti. But we can rest assured, I'm sure this is legally sanctioned graffiti. He's a an artist, not a vandal.
And we just talked about graffiti as a potential logo, right? There's a team that's going to be rebranding.
That's true. That's a good
Was it
point.
Modesto?
Yeah.
We talked about that. That was one of the names that came up as a possibility. And we all kind of agreed that graffiti is a way to be really creative. Well, it seems like the Woo Sox have already beat them there as an alternate identity. It'd still be kind of cool for them to assume graffiti as an official identity, but this is a way of tapping into that.
Yeah, and so the Woo Sox say, quote, they're celebrating Worcester's vibrant art scene, which includes the world-class Worcester Art Museum, which probably doesn't have too many graffitiists displayed in its walls, but also extends to massive walls of brilliant designs on buildings throughout the city, which is more in line with the logo where the smiley face is spray painting. And so there's some vivid colors in this logo. And I've only been to Worcester once, but I remember walking around the downtown and seeing a lot of murals and like public artworks on a lot of these old industrial buildings. And there was a sense of vibrancy to that city in terms of all the art all over it. So it's a celebration.
Yeah, a celebration, and hopefully an encouragement of more, of like, hey, this is something we're proud of. Let's continue to build it out.
Yeah. Don't tag the ballpark, though. they're not encouraging.
Unless it's been sanctioned. If it was sanctioned.
Yeah. Then
we're not doing any sanctioning, just to be clear.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the Worcester Kelly Squares. And Kelly Square, Sam's driven it. I drove it once, but I think this was after they made some changes to it where it was a massive renovation, kind of in conjunction with Polar Park opening, because Polar Park is near Kelly Square. But Kelly Square was just this notorious intersection where 7 streets converged. It was very dangerous. And so this is kind of a tongue-in-cheek homage to a very dangerous intersection in Worcester, Kelly Square. So the Worcester Kelly Squares. So how do you bring to life a dangerous road-based alternate identity? Not to be confused with a spooky road alternate identity, such as the Erie Wearies. This is a dangerous road alternate identity, or at least one that was dangerous. The Woo Sox went the direction of an anthropomorphic strip of road driving and looking really stressed and irritated while driving. So you have a stressed out road behind the wheel of a car driving on an apparently stressful road. What? Hey, I mean, it works, but I never thought, at this point, I've used anthropomorphic in front of pretty much every noun imaginable. So why not a strip of asphalt with yellow lines going through it?
I feel like if there's ever a pair of people that this speaks to, 2 of the most self-loathing human beings who have ever lived are on this podcast, and me and you, Ben. And to be the road driving through the roads that you hate and are so fearful of, I feel like this really speaks to us. We really get
maybe that road is like the road is.
It's the road of life.
It's yourself. He's like, I hate myself. Look at this. Yeah.
Exactly.
You say that, Tyler, about it. Maybe it reflects the 2 of you, but as the only person on this podcast who's ever owned a Massachusetts driver's license, it's like looking into a mirror. I mean, we all understand that look. Everybody who's thinking about buying a Kelly Squares
eyes. That's Sam Dykstra.
Yeah, that's about right.
The rage
hands at 10 and 2, but the grip is very tight. There's some white knuckling.
He's reading his "Sending Your Child to Boston University" book while he's driving that we found in his car.
Flying through Kelly Square. It was insane driving through that. Now it's almost like a glorified roundabout. It almost looks like a figure 8 in some ways, but it's not a figure 8. But it used to just be cars would fly down the hill towards Kelly Square. And if somebody ran a red light, which somebody's going to do, it was just a giant accident. My sister went to Worcester State. We used to drive through that a decent amount, and it's night and day, the changes.
7 streets converge there. 7 streets. That sounds awful.
It's not fun. It is not fun.
Yeah.
It used to be a point of pride in some ways, I think, because it's like, oh, I survived Kelly Square.
Yeah, you can survive that. You're good.
Yeah. But like, there should not be a major thoroughfare in which you're just like happy to survive and get to the other side. That's not how we should be doing public streets.
Yeah, I don't like driving in Massachusetts, period. I mean, my wife's family is from there now, and so we go up to Massachusetts, and I'm always like, oh my God, GPS, it just like, It was always showing me there's another rotary ahead. And I'm just like, would you guys, like, traffic lights have been invented. I don't want to navigate another one of these. Am I taking the third, fourth, fifth turn off this rotary? Come on.
I'm just proud of you for using rotary.
Yeah, I mean, we called them circles when I was a kid, and PA didn't really have them, but New Jersey did. We called them circles. I was surprised you didn't say rotary earlier when you said roundabout.
I try to
we say
expand
roundabouts.
We have a broad audience here.
I don't think I've ever heard rotary before. I've heard traffic circle. Never heard rotary, I don't think.
Well, rotary, you think of it as like a rotary phone.
Yeah.
It's going around, you know.
If you make it through successfully, does that mean you joined the Rotary Club, Sam?
See, as a kid with my imagination, I used to think that they would meet in the middle of the rotary. And I'm just like, what is so special about this?
What a dangerous club to be part of. How do they cross those streets?
Good for them. They have barbecues in the grassy middle of the rotary. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, Ben. Well, I'm currently in Utah, which segues us perfectly to a conversation that you have for this week's episode. Just coincidentally enough.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're all over the place, but it's that time of year. Who cares about the World Series? We're talking about alternate identities in Wisconsin. We're talking about rotaries. We're talking about Halloween-themed minor league baseball logos. And why not? We're talking about Utah. We're talking about the Salt Lake Bees. We're talking about my trip to the ballpark at America First Square earlier this summer. And when I was there, I spoke with the Bees Senior Director of Operations, Derek Amicone, who grew up around the Salt Lake City Bees, or the Salt Lake Bees. His dad, Mark, was the general manager for a lot of years. Again, now he is the Senior Director of Operations. He was very helpful throughout my visit, just with providing a lot of information in general. And so I spoke with him to get a sense of this new ballpark, the ballpark in America First Square, which is actually not in Salt Lake City. It's in West Jordan, in the planned community of Daybreak. And it's a whole complicated thing. But I wanted to, get his thoughts as someone who was very familiar with Smith's Ballpark, the team's previous home, and of course very familiar with this new ballpark, about this new era of Salt Lake Bees baseball. So here's Derek Amicone, the Senior Director of Operations for the Salt Lake Bees. I'm here at the ballpark at America First Square, new home of the Salt Lake Bees. And I'm talking with someone who's been around the Salt Lake Bees for a long time, his whole life. Derek Amicone.
Hi, Ben.
How you doing, Derek?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
No, it's good to be here. And you are the Senior Director of Operations. For the Salt Lake Bees. But before we get into that, you've been around baseball your whole life.
Yep.
You grew up in the game of baseball. You've got quite a lineage, a recognized last name here in the Salt Lake City area. You tell me about that?
Yeah, so we were really fortunate just in terms of, both my parents, my mom was a head softball coach at a few different universities. And the funny thing about that is that a lot of people don't realize is she was actually a head baseball coach at a high school as well, which was pretty unique. But looking back on it, it was a really cool experience. And then my dad was the president general manager for, probably about 20 years here. And then I have a older brother, Trevor, that is the assistant hitting coach with the Minnesota Twins. And so, that's kind of our family. I was a coach as well for a while and decided to get involved in this side of the game, but we always grew up going to games. Vacations were always kind of centered around games, or, hey, going to see mom play, or, my dad, when he was in athletic administration at the University of Utah, was college football games, bowl games, those were our travel parties, or the Final Four, that kind of thing. And so, we've been raised around sports, and then obviously the baseball and softball aspect has really just been our life in a lot of regards.
Yeah, so it's your dad, Mark.
Yep.
And your mom's?
My mom is Mary Kay.
Mary Kay.
Yep.
Yeah, so you always just had baseball everywhere, and your name was associated with it. Did you ever have any thought that you would do something else, or did you just know this is where I belong?
Yeah, not really. Like, I think on some of those nights, like in baseball, whether it was coaching or, in this role, I think every once in a while you're shaking your head about like, man, have I really spent that many hours here, and what am I watching, and that kind of thing. But in reality, like nothing else really made a lot of sense for me personally, as well as our family. Meaning, like, I think we've loved spending time at the ballpark. The relationships that you make, people that you encounter, there's just not quite anything like it. And I don't know if any of us are really suited to, be behind a desk or kind of doing 9 to 5. And so it's just kind of fit all of us.
So before coming to this new ballpark, it was Smith's Ballpark, downtown Salt Lake City, home of the Bees for 30 years. And you, I guess, literally grew up around that ballpark. I mean, you must have so many memories.
I do. So my dad, when he first started as the general manager of the Bees, I was 14 years old. So I was going into 9th grade, I believe. And the Bees' first manager at that time is actually the current third base coach for the Dodgers, and his name's Dino Ebel. And I think when we started out, it was kind of like, oh man, like scared to death to be around the players. Like, look how big they are, and man, like, do I say anything to them? Do I talk to them? And from that very first year, we got to learn how to interact with them, be around them. And then, it kind of resulted in Dino and a few of the other managers, like KJ, our manager, was there at the time when I was younger, that would say, hey, come out and take some swings with us, take some ground balls. So I'd get to learn and take some ground balls from guys like Howie Kendrick, who was around, Eric Ibar, Kendry Morales, Mike Napoli, like a lot of those core Angel guys back in the day that I got to be around. And it was just something that, like, now I'm 35, so it's been 20 years. It's sometimes hard to put in perspective that, man, like, that was a really unique upbringing that not a lot of people get to be involved with. My first job was being a bat boy. And so from there was working in the clubhouse. And then, my baseball career kind of went its way, but it was just always like being around it, and you didn't really know any different because that's what felt like normal. So,
and then stadium operations. Why? For those who don't know, if you can explain a little bit about that job, and then why was that? You probably had a lot of baseball jobs too. You did a lot of different jobs. You had a sense of the whole ballpark. Why did you specifically want to go into that area?
So I think. For me, like, I do baseball and stadium operations, and the baseball part is always, to me, the most fun, right? Like, taking care of our players, taking care of our staff, as well as the relationship with the Angels, and being able to get around, be around guys that are at a high level of baseball, right? And so I enjoy that aspect. I enjoy the aspect of, really, like, seeing a player's family have an experience here locally that could, like, really be an impactful experience for them. Meaning, like, hey, if we can help one of our players' wives and their kids go to the zoo, and it makes their day, and it's a unique experience for them, and see how happy they are to be able to go do that with dad, it's really rewarding. And then, on the stadium side, I think trying to make sure everything's functioning properly so that guests truly have a really good experience. And I think it's really, really rewarding to see, something you've done or had fixed around the ballpark make an impact on a fan having a better experience at a game, or just making the people's lives around you easier because of, hey, a fix that we accommodated our ticketing group that's going to make their job easier, or life easier, something we can do for our grounds guys that, hey, maybe it helps them not have to be here all the time. And so ways that you can make people's lives better on the operations side are really rewarding, and sometimes go a little bit unnoticed, but that's kind of what drew me to it. The baseball side has always been second nature. I worked as a coach and had a really good feel for the baseball operations side of how you're going to deal with a disgruntled player or a coach, or the right way to handle a situation. And so that's what really drew me to it.
Yeah, so Smith's Ballpark, as you said, you grew up there. What was that like operationally?
It was challenging. I think most people, when I grew up there, I think the dynamics were a lot different. The ballpark was probably, I don't know, about at that standpoint, probably about 10 to 12 years old. It was built in '94 and then was utilized until last season for us. And so, the city owned that ballpark. We leased it from the city. And so there were certain dynamics that the city of Salt Lake controlled that we did not control. And so with this ballpark, we're responsible for everything here, right? The air conditioning, the facility upkeep. And so, Salt Lake City was great to us all those number of years. But I think like when you add in the element of this new ballpark where you can control all of those type of things, it makes it a little bit easier in terms of having less moving pieces. But I think, I have a lot of memories of that place. It was hard to see it go because I spent so much of my childhood and early adulthood and even, until now, being there with family. It kind of came full circle with me when I had, I brought at the time, my 6 months old little boy out there for the first time, and just kind of going like, man, like when I was 14, I wasn't sure that was going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but operationally, I mean, it, again, like people would see the field and people would see the view, but there were some challenges there that made it really unique. And I think with, the moving pieces of Major League Baseball's PDL guidelines, we were a little bit, strung up in terms of being able to adhere to some of those guidelines. And so this made it a little bit easier on us. But again, I have nothing but good things to say about them and Salt Lake City over the many years that we were there.
Yeah, so now it's still the Salt Lake Bees, but we are technically in the town of South Jordan in the planned community of Daybreak.
Yeah.
A lot of development going around here. What's it been like moving into a new park and a totally different environment in a lot of ways?
Very different. So I think there's some similarities, but there's a lot of differences. I think from probably about October of last year until really early May this year, it was a lot, like in terms of the operational upkeep, getting it ready for opening day to after opening day. Hey, we got to fix these things, and you got 6 days until the team gets in, and there were long hours. And I think in baseball, like we have a pitch clock now, right? But in a lot of ways in baseball, you don't really have a clock, meaning like you're going to get phone calls and texts early morning, late night about, hey, there's this issue at the ballpark and we got to get this solved, or and then you couple that with your regular responsibilities of the baseball team being on the road and making sure that everything's going good for them. It was challenging, but I will say, like, it was very fulfilling in being able to learn this whole scope of what it takes to build a ballpark, from scratch, really, right? From the architectural blueprints to seeing rooms come together to going like, okay, how do we actually functionally use this space? It was a lot of fun, and then I think you could kind of take a deep breath, probably around the All-Star break. But this has been a really exciting, fun project that everybody's really wrapped their arms around to see be successful.
And what are your favorite elements of this new park?
From a job standpoint, being a baseball guy at heart, I love the player amenities. I think the batting cages are great. The commissary and the locker room are probably my favorite. Like, I think the locker room is as well done as you could possibly have. I think we've been fortunate that we've had quite a few guys on our roster this year with some big league experience, like multiple year experience that have been around have said this is better than a lot of big league places that they've been. And so that's always kind of reassuring. And every time I go in there, I'm kind of like, man, we did a really good job with this thing. And so from the baseball side, I think the locker room, the home locker room is outstanding. And then, I think the bullpens are pretty unique that the fans can look down in. They can hear the pop of the glove. They can see guys utilizing tools as well, like pitching to string and a dummy hitter. And so, those seats in particular out there, they kind of have that green monster type of feel. And then I'd probably say the last thing too from the fan side is our field suites. So they're closer to the hitter than the pitcher is to the hitter. So they're only 50 feet from the hitter, and watching the game from that angle is awesome. I've been in a lot of dugouts throughout my time as a coach and working in baseball, but sitting there and be able to kind of look from that angle is really, really cool. And our fans that have had the opportunity to sit in there have just raved about that. So those would be probably the three that I would say right now.
I'll close with this, and probably an impossible question to answer, but you've been around for essentially the entire franchise history of this team. Who's your favorite B?
Oh man, my favorite B. It's hard. I mean, I would have to think about it in phases, because I've had so many, when I was growing up and the guys that I was around there was a guy, I would have to think about it in that phase the guys that I worked out with, the guys that I watched when I was older, and then the guys that I'm working with right now. So I think growing up, I really loved a catcher named Jeff Mathis.
Yeah.
He was with the club for a little while, and then was a big league catcher for a number of years. And then I really loved watching some of the guys that, weren't like the guys that made it and stuck, so to speak, meaning they got their cup of coffee, but they didn't really change who they were. I never saw them pout. They just went back to work, and those guys were Efren Navarro was one that came to mind, a left-handed hitting first baseman that if he was born as a right-hander, he would have been a shortstop because he could really play defense. And he was an awesome guy in terms of had that same work ethic every day and super positive. There was another guy that kind of took me under his wing that I don't know if he really made it. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think he did. His name was Casey Smith, middle infielder that took me under his wing as a 15-year-old, and was like, "Hey, you can come out and take ground balls anytime you want with me. Any questions, anything like that." And he didn't really need to. So I think those guys really stick out. I think in recent years, I've really enjoyed a guy on our club this year named Yolmer Sanchez. He had won a Gold Glove with the White Sox in 2019. Just a fan favorite, good person. Chad Stevens had a really fun call up earlier this year that went viral for us. Got called up during the middle of a game, and so I've really enjoyed those guys. But we've been really fortunate that we've had a lot of good people as players as well. So I know that probably doesn't answer it, but I've had so many that have stuck out over the years.
No, I get it. It's like when people ask me favorite stadiums, you have to
find
all different categories and ways to answer.
For sure.
But anyway, Derek, thanks so much for speaking with me. And
you got it. This is your favorite stadium. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I'm saying on the record, yes.
Okay.
This is my favorite ballpark of all time here in Salt Lake City.
We love it. We love it. So thanks for having me on, though.
My pleasure.
Well, we did happen to note a little while ago that it is the middle of the World Series. And That gives us time to talk about the number 26 overall prospect in all of baseball and the top in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, who you may have heard of, Trey Yesavage, who yesterday dominated in Game 5 of the World Series, striking out 12, not walking a batter over 6 shutout innings.
Seven.
7 shutout innings. That's right. He did.
Well, 7 innings. He gave up 1 run. He did give up the homer to Kike Hernandez.
Right.
But still, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 12 strikeouts.
And the thing that's sort of crazy is like you almost forget about the Kike home run because the other 2 hits were infield singles for Teoscar Hernandez. So it was like, oh, they couldn't even touch Yesavage. And you kind of forgot, like, well, yeah, Kike did send that one a million miles. That was such a footnote in that game. And Trey Yesavage, I don't know if you've heard this. Stop us if you've heard this on the broadcast. He started the year in A-ball. I don't know if you've heard it. People are saying it. A lot of people are saying it. But he did. He started this season in the Toronto Blue Jays organization with the Dunedin Blue Jays of the Florida State League, and now is in the conversation for World Series MVP. And that's incredible. I don't think he'll get it, but that's incredible. Sam, this is such an amazing story for a guy who, at times this year obviously looked good, did not look like a guy who was going to be in the running for World Series MVP.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fascinating season for Trey Yesavage. I wrote up that story that we've referenced on the show before about talking to people who saw him at each stop, single A, high A, double A, and triple A. And one thing I want to just get out of the way, despite it, how many references there have been to the Jupiter Hammerheads in the World Series broadcasts, which is great. And, the Florida State League.
Did you know he was pitching in front of 327 people in his pro debut?
Yeah.
It's an A-ball, Sam. Did you know
that has been memorized? That audience, that attendance figure has been memorized by so many people across baseball this year. But I will say, having been there in spring training in Dunedin and talking to the Blue Jays and talking to people on the record, talking to people off the record, they were trying to figure out, where do we send this guy? And every time I had that conversation, they always mentioned, well, it's cold in Vancouver in March and April. And then they sent him to Dunedin, keep him warm, literally warm, and also warmed up, getting him built up. They always said for September. We're talking here now, Tyler, on October 30th. There's a chance he might not be done in the World Series, right? Like they get to a Game 7 scenario and it's all hands on deck. Maybe even a Game 6. Like, who knows? Like, maybe, he's supposed to throw on day 3. Maybe you move that up to day 2 to just close out the World Series. But they've done a phenomenal job of making sure that this guy passes every test. He's done a phenomenal job of passing those tests in his own right. And you mentioned last night's start. I mean, there's a great story right now on MLB.com about the amount of records he set in Game 5 from Keegan Matheson. And I'll just read it verbatim because it's just much easier to do this. Yesavage has placed his name among some of the game's greats with a postseason performance for the ages while leading the Blue Jays to a 6-1 win over the Dodgers and a 3-2 lead in the Fall Classic. He also became just the second pitcher in World Series history with 10 or more strikeouts through the first 5 innings, joining the Dodgers' very own Sandy Koufax, who did it in Game 1 of the 1963 World Series. Sandy Koufax was at Game 5. So the only other pitcher in history.
He's 89 years old and still looks wildly better than I do. He's 89 years old.
Phenomenal.
89
Absolutely phenomenal.
years old.
Yesavage is also the first pitcher in MLB history to do that twice within the same postseason. And what I haven't mentioned is that he struck out 12 over 7 innings. That's the all-time rookie record for strikeouts in a World Series game that was held by Don Newcomb in the 1949 Brooklyn Dodgers with 11. The what he did against that lineup, against Shohei Ohtani, and that image has gone around the world several times now of Ohtani losing his helmet and being like corkscrewed into the ground on a swing against Yesavage.
While Yesavage is just as baller as a human being can be, walking off the mound, cool as hell.
Yeah, knowing that splitter, it's all world. It's one of the best splitters in all of baseball. Right now,
it was interesting. Yesterday, I was listening to Stephen Nelson and Rick Monday on the Dodgers broadcast, and Rick Monday made a point. He said, that thing moves low and away to left-handed hitters. And then later on, I believe it was Ohtani's at bat, he goes, oh wait, it didn't move that way this time. So he's able to manipulate how that pitch moved. Like watching Rick Monday, listening to Rick Monday watch that and dissect that in real time was very, very cool. But it also just shows you how locked in Trey Yesavage was.
Yeah, and normally I think of his two best pitches are his fastball and his splitter. Yesterday, the slider was also really good. The slider is incredibly unique in that normally you think of a slider as going glove side, whether you're throwing, as a lefty, as a righty, it's supposed to cut the other way from your handedness. It technically doesn't. It technically moves around 0 to 5 inches to his arm side, like you would expect a two-seamer to do, like you would expect a splitter to do. And the fact that it's doing that, I think on one hand, you're just like, that's not how a slider works. Fix it. On the other hand, if you're a batter and you're expecting it to have some sweep and it doesn't, that's really difficult to hit. The ball is playing tricks with your mind and you have to make that adjustment. And I keep thinking, the more experience batters get against Trey Yesavage, the tougher they're going to be against him because he's going to be more exposed. He only has the 3 pitches. It's not a supremely deep arsenal like you see with some of these other really dominant postseason pitchers. And I also thought going into Game 5 that the Dodgers would be at home. Obviously, they have some home field advantage there, but they also have that traject machine in which they can type in Trey Yesavage's data and be like, let's just see as many Yesavage pitches as we can get. They don't have that on the road. They faced him in Toronto in Game 1. You don't have a traject machine with you on the road. You do at home in most cases. So I thought they would be a little bit better prepared. They still did not see that splitter very well at all. They didn't see the slider very well at all. It was just a completely dominant performance. And he spoke about this, and I've heard this from multiple people around him as well, that when he's in the zone, it's tough. It's when he's not in the zone, when he's kind of beating himself.
And
that's been a lesson.
He said that last night
Yeah.
after talking with Ken
Right.
Rosenthal. He said, like, I needed to be in the zone. If I can work in the zone with 2 and sometimes 3 pitches like I had tonight, that's when I feel like I'm most effective. But yeah, and it's interesting too, Sam, because looking back on that debut start this year for Yesavage against the Jupiter Hammerheads that has been brought up ad nauseum, like it's a very 2025 early Trey Yesavage start where it's like somewhat baffling. He threw in that game 68 pitches, only 32 strikes. He went 3 2/3. He gave up 2 unearned runs on 1 hit. He struck out 4. He walked 6. So, like, there were a lot of question marks about Trey Yesavage and how quickly this road was going to go for him. And last night he showed you, right, when he's locked in, when he's in the zone, he's lethal.
Yeah, but just because of the uniqueness of that release point, obviously being so high, everybody talks about the splitter essentially falling from the sky. But then you got that fastball that wasn't particularly on last night, but it still has that really good ride. It's got 19, 20 inches of ride, and that's difficult to hit in most cases. So it's really cool to see him dominate like this and have it be the culmination of so much work. And, I say it often and I'll say it again here. Development doesn't stop at the major leagues. You think somebody makes the majors and they're finished products because in his case, he's seen all 4 stops of a full season minor league ladder. And yet you continue to develop from there. And he's going to be such a fascinating guy to talk about this offseason because he remains rookie eligible. He's going to go into 2026 still on top 100 lists. And a lot of people are going to have watched that game, scouts, evaluators across baseball spectrum, general fans, we're going to be like, this guy is the best rookie talent. We've seen him do it literally on the biggest stage possible. Where do you rank somebody like that? Because on the one hand, he's done it. You would hope that anybody you would rank number 1 would someday put on an historic performance in the World Series, but that's not a guarantee. He's already done it. He's got it on his resume. Nobody else does. I am leery, and I will say this, I'm going to get out ahead of this a little bit, and that we are in the age of the pitch mix, as many people call it, that the deeper arsenal you have, the better you're going to be because you're going to keep hitters guessing. He only has the 3 pitches. Mind you, they're all at least above average. I would go at least a 70 on the splitter, if not an 80. They're all world pitches. It's really, really good. It's just can he make it work consistently? But he's done it. And I like I said, like this is the best possibly put forward. He's definitely in the conversation now for best pitching prospect in baseball, right there with Nolan McLean. He's definitely in the conversation and will probably be the front runner or the favorite to be the AL Rookie of the Year in 2026. All the questions we had when he was first called up of like, would the Blue Jays maybe use him in relief because he was a short-term reliever for AAA Buffalo? Those have been answered. He's going to be a starter. He's going to be in that rotation so long as he can stay healthy through the offseason and into the spring. It's really, really exciting right now to be a Toronto Blue Jays fan. Not only because your team is one win away from the World Series and your first World Series title in 32 years, but also knowing that Trey Yesavage could be your ace for years to come and that he was completely developed within the system at a time when pitching development has really taken off for Toronto in the last 12 months. Who's next? Who's going to be that next guy? Is it Gage Staniver? Is it Johnny King? Like, they have some options now, and he's the first to arrive. He won't be the last.
I also just want to shout out Sam Dykstra for being on the Trey Yesavage train very early on. You can't doubt Sam Dykstra. He was on Jackson Churio so early on. He's on Trey Yesavage early on. Like, I could go down that list, but that's good.
Well, listen, he was a first round pick out of East Carolina.
Like, that's true. It's not like you discovered a
first
diamond
rounder
in the rough, but
yeah,
just saying, Sam Dykstra.
And I'll also give credit to you, Tyler, because listen, I've done a few podcasts in the last few weeks, and I've read plenty of World Series predictions. Not many people were on the Blue Jays. It could still go the Dodgers' way. We're recording on Thursday. Game 6 is on Friday. Game 7, potentially, if necessary, is on Saturday. Anything could happen. It's still a team with Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Will Smith and on down the line. And Yamamoto's lurking for Game 6, talking about an historic performance. But I don't think people thought they would be in the driver's seat going into Game 6, and they are certainly in that going home back north of the border to Toronto. So kudos to you for looking at that team and knowing that as strong as the Dodgers starting pitchers were going into the World Series, this is a team that makes a lot of contact, and it's not just dinking and dunking kind of like the Milwaukee Brewers were all year. It's thump. It's a lot of thump. Dude, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., all-world hitter.
That's why I felt like the Jays had a way better chance in this series than everybody was giving them. Is they just 1 through 9, they keep the pressure on you in every conceivable way. And it isn't just like, well, maybe they can run into one and also hit the home run. They have the world's scariest hitter at times in Vlad Guerrero Jr. Bo Bichette being back. They're doing this without George Springer right now. That's incredible. And it is sort of wild to see. Now, I want to say my heart broke for Mookie Betts when I saw that answer that he gave, that David Ortiz talked about last night in the postgame, where he said, like, I've been terrible and I don't have any answers right now. That's tough. And he's one of the most lovable guys in baseball. That was tough to see. But you look up and down the Dodgers lineup, it's kind of hard to feel bad for the Dodgers. Like, you have every big bat in the game and you can't get your offense going. I don't know what else you're supposed to do, when they inevitably go out and get Kyle Tucker this offseason or something. I guess people will figure out like what the next step is. But that's, I think, more credit to the Blue Jays pitching staff than anything else, is that they have made a team of baseball immortals. That team has, 3-4 Hall of Famers in the lineup on any given day. And the Blue Jays have made them look like a very regular team. And that's pretty incredible stuff. So the World Series shifts back to Toronto. The Arizona Fall League is closing in on its final stretch. And Sam Dykstra, of course, was down in Arizona, now back in New York, and keeping us updated on all things AFL. What are the AFL headlines, Sammy?
Yeah, one I'll throw out there just from the jump is, I feel like I've talked about this and written about this so far in the Fall League, is that Kevin McGonigal was going to be the guy that everybody was going to keep such close tabs on, right? Like, the number 2 overall prospect in baseball was coming off an incredible year at high A and double A mostly. He got some rehab appearances in there as well, coming off a right ankle issue beginning of the year. But just a guy who's really figured it out at the plate during the regular season in terms of bat speed, in terms of launch angle, in terms of hitting the ball hard, in terms of plate discipline, walking more than he struck out. He seems to be the best overall hitter in minor league baseball. And so he was going to be under a microscope, and he was going to be the one guy that pitchers didn't want to face and maybe worked around. Now that's become Esmeralda Valdez. But it wasn't a great start for McGonigal, at least by his standards. Through his first 4 games, he had a 757 OPS. He was batting 214. He was striking out. It seemed like he was pressing a little bit. I think what I should have remembered in writing about all that, and I said all that just because anything can happen in a small sample. And I think that's what I kind of got away from, is that, if he struggles here, it's the end of a long year for him. Don't look too much into it, whatever. But on the other hand, it was a small sample, and he's turned it around since. He was the week 3 Arizona Fall League hitter of the week. He slashed 500, 579, 875 with 2 homers last week for Scottsdale. Now on the Arizona Fall League season, he has a 366 average, a 491 on base percentage, and a 610 slugging. Now, again, this AFL is even more hitter friendly, I think, than previous years. So take that with some grains of salt. But he's right back to where he used to be: 10 walks against 7 strikeouts, 2 homers, 4 walks amongst his 15 hits. Everything's starting to click into place here for Kevin McGonigal. The interesting thing to me is that most recently he's played a lot more third base. He's still getting some time at shortstop. But hearing from him, he's kind of prioritized defense in the Fall League because the bat is so good. He will even say he didn't have a great year defensively at shortstop, and that's where he got the most run. A lot of evaluators will say they expect him to move over second base. The Tigers will have an opening unless they decide to fill it at second base. Gleyber Torres is a free agent going into this offseason. So it would be natural to slide McGonigal over to second. They keep getting him tries over on the left side of the infield. So we'll see how things go there. You're going to hear a lot of noise about him potentially making the club out of spring training. He has no AAA experience yet. If I'm Detroit, maybe I plan around McGonigal, get maybe a stopgap option at second for a month or two, but at least expose him to AAA a little bit and allow him to hit his way out of there. He certainly could. Maybe we get to a situation where they talk him into an extension in the offseason. We've seen teams do that to get their guys on an opening day roster. I haven't heard anything about that specifically. It's just that's happened a lot more in recent years with top prospects. They did it with Colt Keith a few years ago. The Detroit Tigers did. So keep an eye on that maybe happening. But I think Kevin McGonigal is answering a lot of the questions here as of late. They have eased up on the gas with him. He last played on October 26th. Our own Jonathan Mayo checked in on that. Why hasn't he been playing lately? The Tigers are like, we're kind of happy with where he's at. We're not pushing him for game time. We don't want him getting hurt or doing anything that could jeopardize him going into the offseason. So we're happy he's out there. We're happy he's performing. We're just not going to push him too hard during the second half of the Arizona Fall League season. So if you check AFL box scores and Scottsdale in particular and be like, where's Kevin McGonigal? That's why. It's not that he's being pulled. It's not that he's hurt again. It's just they want to ease up on the gas a little bit, knowing that they have a very, very special hitter in Kevin McGonigal. So after previously saying he got off to a slow start, absolutely heating up here as of late and looking like the Kevin McGonigal who will be in discussions for the number 1 overall prospect spot in the offseason. I think we'll probably still land on Connor Griffin because of the overall package, but it's too hard to ignore what Kevin McGonigal can be at the plate.
1920s detective Kevin McGonigal. All right, Sam, you have a conversation for this week, which is a very cool one. Tee it up for us.
Yeah, this one is with Red Sox number 17 prospect Nelly Taylor, who was in the Arizona Fall League. He was somebody who back in the spring when I was in Fort Myers for Red Sox spring training, I feel like I've mentioned a lot about my spring training trips on this show this week, but everybody was trying to find out who was the next Christian Campbell, right? Who was the next Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer. The Red Sox had done a really good job of identifying core principles in their hitting philosophy and plugging in the right players into those core principles and getting a lot out of them. And the name that kept coming back and back and back to me was Nelly Taylor. They really liked his bat speed. They thought he was trending in the right direction. Spent this year at High A Greenville. Didn't have their best year. It was a 216 average, 355 OBP, 349 slug for a 704 OPS in 108 games. Had 7 homers, 29 steals. Really, really good defender. He's a plus to a plus runner, can play the heck out of center field. but they wanted him going to the AFL to continue to harness that hitting skill. And if you watch him hit, he's got this kind of sizable leg kick. So I talked to him about that in this interview. But one of the big reasons I wanted to talk to Nelly Taylor is that in my research about him, he was diagnosed with a Wilms tumor, which is a rare kidney cancer, mostly affects children, in his left kidney at only 5 years old. So he had to have that removed when he was only 5. And he was told very early that he could not play contact sports because of the surgery and the recovery process and all of that. So growing up in the Clearwater area, a minor league town, around Tampa Bay, which is known as, an area where football is very popular. He couldn't play football growing up. So he only had really baseball and track. There was, you'll hear it in this interview, basketball was another option for him. He got recruited to play basketball in college, but he stuck with baseball for reasons, and you'll hear his answer on that as well, for a reason I really enjoyed. But now he's still kind of a raw player because...
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
He's somebody who just needs the reps. He's getting those in the AFL now. He has struggled with breaking pitches, but I think the more he gets exposed to baseball, the more pitching he sees, the better he'll get. And he feels that as well, given his background, given what he's done in the game to this point. He went to junior college at Polk State, and instead of going to Florida State, signed with the Red Sox as an 11th round pick. So things are starting to pick up for Nelly Taylor. And I just think he has a really interesting background, overcoming those odds with a really difficult cancer diagnosis and turning into somebody who we could see in Fenway Park someday. So here's my chat with Nelly Taylor from the Arizona Fall League. All right, Nelly, so we're sitting here now in week 3 of the AFL. How would you describe your fall league experience to this point?
It's been fun, exciting, getting to see and meet a lot of new guys, a lot of good talent. So it's been exciting. It's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to keep going and see how far we get with these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, was there anybody you were looking forward to seeing most when you found out who was on the rosters or who you could be facing?
Nobody in particular, but once I figured out like Charlie would be on the team and Tuck was coming to the fall league, like I was really looking forward to seeing them and getting to know them.
Mm-hmm. So when you guys have conversations and you're coming from multiple different organizations, what are those conversations like, particularly on the hitting side?
It's usually just like, hey, what are you working on today? It's nothing specific with the organization, but it's just usually like me asking like, hey, like how you feeling, or like what's been your cue, stuff like that. Personally, it's nothing ever to say like, hey, what does the org have you working on?
Right. So when you have those conversations, have you picked up any new cues or any adjustments you've made based off who you talked to?
Well, for the most part, because I've been working with EP a little bit more here lately, and one thing he's been telling me is about my hands, and he's telling me like, trust him, like you have really quick ass hands and they're really good, so you have to trust your abilities and learn how to use them properly, because they can hurt you if you're not using them right. Mm-hmm. And with them having so much ability and adjustability.
Mm-hmm. And EP being Eric Patterson.
Right, yes, correct.
Yeah, and one thing that I was in Fort Myers in the spring, and the Red Sox talk a lot about 4 different tenets between bat-to-ball skills, swing decisions, bat speed, and ball flight. What do you feel like you connect with both best out of that group?
I would say my swing decisions and my bat-to-ball have been my main focus here. And lately after the season that I had, just because of not just the way that the numbers look, but the way that I feel how I should be performing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you do to work on those two specifically?
So Of course, for bat to ball, we have a skinny bat that I go in the cages and I'll, hit baseballs with that. And for swing decisions, we have these like colored balls, or we have just coaches doing mixed pitch to us to try and, have us focus and lock in on the strike zone and our eye and everything.
Mm-hmm. Was that something you were even doing in the spring? Is that something new you've been working on?
It's been something that I was doing in the spring.
Yeah.
Got away from it in the season a little bit, just with us not hitting arm as much. And it was strictly machine, but it's something that's I'm looking to get back into here this fall.
Was that something the Sox talked to you about, especially coming here? Because you had basically a full year in Greenville. A lot of guys here are trying to make up for lost time, but you had basically a full summer.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just development, keep going, keep moving forward, and not really dwell on what happened last year. I did have a full year, but I think it's more so to just keep working and see the live arms, the good pitching, and just to keep me going, because the more baseball I play, the better I believe I'm going to get. So
yeah, and I think that has something to do with your background, which I want to touch on in a second. But just in terms of your mechanics, I was watching some of your at-bats. You got kind of that higher leg kick, and then it seems like you go to a little bit of a lesser one with two strikes. Take me through that adjustment.
No, it's just a normal two-strike approach. You kind of shorten up and try to do whatever to get your best swing off on a pitch that's near the zone. You don't want to leave it up to the umpire for sure, but you get two strikes, you get two swings to really beat the pitcher. And when you get two strikes, you want to shorten up and you want to make sure that you compete more than anything. So that's where I shorten up, and I shorten up my legs, my leg kick and everything else, just to be a little bit more smoother and less head movement to the ball.
And before you get to those two strikes, what does the leg kick do for you, and especially given how big it is? Is that just generating power?
Yeah. For me, it's mostly timing. It's just something that I've always done throughout my career. So for me, it's just been a timing thing, and if you can shorten that up with two strikes, that always helps for sure.
Was there anybody you were watching growing up who you got that from and thought, like, this is what I'm trying to emulate?
Not really. It was just like, you got to be yourself at the end of the day, what feels good to you.
Sure.
Growing up, like, I would watch Barry Bonds, of course, Ken Griffey, Ichiro, Derek Jeter, David Ortiz even. So I would say I took a little bit from all those great hitters and,
put them all into a soup and try to make the best version of yourself. I understand that. And just going way far back, I mean, looking into your bio, I know you had a kidney tumor when you were 5.
Yes, sir.
First off, how are you now, and how is everything health-wise?
I'm blessed, man. God is good. I'm here. I'm healthy. And he's done wonderful things for me in my life. But yeah, 5 years old, was diagnosed with a Wilms tumor in my left kidney, had the surgery immediately, and I've been fully recovered for, I want to say, about 15 years now. Yeah, so it took me about a year or two to recover and start playing sports again. So that's funny that you asked, because a couple of days ago I had a coach ask me, like, why didn't you play football growing up? Like, you look like a football player.
Right.
Being from South Florida especially. And I said, that's funny that you asked, because I could never play contact sports. And I couldn't play contact sports because I got one kidney and I had a tumor that had to be removed. But like I said before, give praise to the Most High for allowing me to make it this far and, give my testimony.
Yeah, and what is that's scary to go through at any age, 5, 25, 55. But what was it like going through that? Like, what were your parents trying to say to you about what was going on? Or were they just saying, hey, you're sick, we're going to fix you? Like,
for the most part, they were just keeping in my mind, like, you're strong. You're going through this because you are strong. And you're chosen. So, I mean, for the most part, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew there was a lot of doctor's appointments and a lot of prayer, for sure. So that's something that has stayed with me all throughout my life and career is, staying prayed up and a lot of prayer.
How much do you feel like that geared you towards baseball then? Because like you said, you couldn't be doing contact sports. I know you played basketball as well, but like the fact that you could really take to baseball because that's where it feels like everything you were as an athlete could shine even more there without the contact.
Yeah, it brought me towards baseball because I would say baseball was the sport I played first, and then I started running track just because I was inspired by my older brother. And I did the 100, 200 meter, and the long jump, and going to the Olympics, Junior Olympics, in those events.
Oh, wow, okay.
Was, a great experience. And, just learning to listen to my parents, and they tell you every day that to keep God first and keep working hard and stuff like that. So I just learned to take that work ethic into everything that I do, and I started playing basketball in the 6th grade for no reason. Like I never
it was something to do in the winters.
Exactly. I never picked up a basketball before, but I had one of my PE coaches come over to me, and I invited him out to one of my Little League baseball games, and that night I hit a home run and he caught the ball and he still has it to this day. And I signed it for him and everything, and he told me, come out for the basketball team. And I'm like, I've never played basketball, but okay, I'm an athletic kid. I can run, jump. So that was my basketball career, is playing a lot of good defense and
getting as many layups as you could.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that. And you got some offers to play college ball, right?
Yes, sir. I did, to UT and USF.
Oh, so University of Tampa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was thinking like Tennessee, Texas.
No.
I mean, but still, those are like...
Yeah,
it's better than a lot of people do playing hoops.
For sure.
How close did you ever come to accepting those?
It was really just like a if I wanted to thing. It was because I knew baseball would be my way out, would be my ticket, just because like you get to the NBA and I look back at it and I'm like, if I got to play at the highest level, which is the NBA, I don't know if I could guard LeBron, but I know for sure, like I can play baseball with the best of them for sure.
A 95-mile-an-hour fastball is a little less scary than guarding Braun in the post. I get that. For sure. And then you decided to go to the junior college route to Polk.
Yeah.
And I know you were committed to Florida State before the draft, but like take me through that decision to go the JUCO way.
Honestly, the Division I level is a wonderful level. I just 100%, it was just something that I prayed on, and it was like I'd rather go to the junior college route because I know I'll play. I know I'll develop. I can trust this coach that I'm going to play with. So with that being said, the other Division I offers and stuff like that I had, it was like, do I really trust what they're saying? Like, I'm not saying I don't trust my abilities to play or compete with seniors and super seniors because, we had the COVID going on.
Yeah. You're facing 24-year-olds in some cases.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, what are the odds of you playing at a Division I, whereas you go to a junior college route and you play your junior year at a Division I anyways after developing for 2 years. And you also have that availability to get drafted after your second year at a junior college, which is, it couldn't have worked out any better for me. I did what I did. I struggled my freshman year in JUCO a little bit, and then picked it up and found it my sophomore year, and that's what really got me to where I am today.
And you had that summer on the Cape too, right?
Right, yeah.
Which is the ultimate prospect showcase for a college guy.
Exactly. So
how did that come together? Was that just because I know you were in another summer league, but was that just like you're showing out there, we're going to keep picking it up?
Because I was in the Florida Collegiate League
right.
To start out that summer, and I just got a phone call from my college coach, and he knew some guys up in the Cape because we had 2 players, Dakota Harris and Jack Duffy, up in the Cape Cod before the draft. And they had spots open after the draft, and my coach made a call, and it was just a connection that Coach Corbeil had to, get me in there.
Yeah, and you ended up helping Bourne win a championship, which is a great way to end your summer.
All right.
We'll just end on this one. I mean, how close did you feel like you were going to the Seminoles going into the draft? I know they took you in the 11th round.
Yeah,
making you wait a little while, but it seemed to end up working out.
Mm-hmm. No, I felt like it was always a chance there. Especially with like what they had to offer me and the guys that I would have been playing with, that's a great chance at a championship, a national championship actually. So I was really close to, taking that opportunity and going to do my 1 year in school and see how far we made it there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would have been a great year for sure.
And when you compare yourself as a hitter, where you were coming out of JUCO to where you are now, what's been the biggest change? I'm
bigger and stronger for sure. The pitching has gotten better, but I would say the biggest difference is I'm bigger and I'm stronger than I was coming out of JUCO, and that's helped me a lot. And I have a lot more resources and good hitting coaches here with the Boston Red Sox for sure.
All right, great. That's all I had for you. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Final segment of this week's episode of the show before the show. It is time for the latest and greatest edition of Name That Dude, in which one of us picks a dude from baseball years past, and the other 2 have to name that dude. Benjamin Hill this week has the dude. Sam Dykstra and I shall be guessing the dude. Ben, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the dude who was born in Hollywood, California. Perhaps you guys have heard of it. Tinseltown. They make movies there. But this dude was born under the bright lights. Maybe he was born right near the Hollywood sign. I don't know. But that's where he was born. He attended Cal State Fullerton and transferred to Moore Park College and did really well there. Moore Park College, I'm not too familiar with. But doing really well at Moore Park College. Gets you drafted, but maybe not too high. He was a 57th round draft pick of the Detroit Tigers in the 1995 baseball draft. And I'm learning this through Wikipedia, but signed by scout Dennis Lieberthal, the father of former Phillies catcher Mike Lieberthal, who was himself a first-round draft pick, Mike Lieberthal, with the Phillies. But this dude was signed by Mike's father, Dennis, after getting drafted after he was drafted in the 57th round. We do not go up that high anymore. And he started his career with a team that is, I'm very glad I got to visit there once, RIP, the Jamestown Jammers in the New York Penn League in 1995. And from there, he went to the Fayetteville Generals for the entirety of the 1996 season, still in the Detroit system. The Lakeland Flying Tigers in 1997, the entirety of the year. Man, very steady climb here. 1998, Jacksonville Suns when they were a Detroit affiliate. Spent the entirety of the year there. You don't see guys just spend like entirety of seasons, bam, 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 very often. 98 though, he skips AAA, makes his debut with the Detroit Tigers. 99, spent some time with AAA Toledo, but most of the season with the Tigers. 2000, he's now with the Texas Rangers. A little bit of time in Oklahoma and Tulsa, but almost the whole season with the Texas Rangers. 2001, again, little stint in Tulsa, but maybe that was a rehab appearance. Most of the season with the Rangers. 2002, a little bit of time in Oklahoma City, but again, mostly with Texas Rangers. But that season, he goes to the Rockies to finish the year. 2003 goes to the Red Sox, a little bit of time with Lowell and the Portland Sea Dogs. That must have been rehab. But Boston in 2003 and 2004 and 2005 and 2006. Does not play in 2007, then goes to Milwaukee and finishes his career with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2010. He did not play in the year 2007 for a very anomalous and unique reason, which is a slight clue. The next clue is he was a position player. A member of the 2004 Red Sox.
Yeah, this should be
a position player.
The position. I'm going through all the teams in my head. All the players in my head. It was with the Red Sox in 03, 04, 05, and 06.
Here's the only random guy
he was.
I feel like remember going Rangers, Rockies around that era.
He was an outfielder.
Is it Gabe Kapler?
It is.
Gabe Kapler.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you recall, the reason he did not play in 2007, his age 31 season, is he went to go manage the Boston Red Sox affiliate, the Greenville Drive.
Was it Greenville or was it Lowell?
No, it's Greenville.
Interesting.
He managed for the first time at age 31 the Greenville Drive.
And
I could have swore he was like with Lowell for a time, but like he definitely made an appearance.
Then he did not manage again until 2018 with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Wow.
But it was a pretty unique career move, and he's always been a bit of an outside the box thinker. To
say the least.
And then after that 2007 season, he was like, you know what? I still want to play. I can still compete. And he went back to the major leagues for a couple years. And
a lot of stuff I did not know about Gabe Kapler.
Yeah. So he 12 seasons, he stuck around. He was a regular more often than not for quite a few of those years in the majors. Obviously didn't put up like star numbers, but had a pretty big career.
So wrote some very interesting blog posts back in the day.
Yeah. He certainly got his time in the sun. And for more on his time in the sun, make sure to Google Gabe Kapler and sun, and then keep the results to yourself.
Oh, that's nuts, Sam. He also is currently in the Miami Marlins front office, evidently. Formerly, of course, a manager at the major league level with the Phillies and the Giants, and he was the director of player development for the Dodgers, and was an interesting interview, I know, for a lot of us at MILB.com. And now a Miami Marlins front office member. Who knew?
Yeah. And thanks to Lynn Smith, longtime listener, reader, minor league baseball supporter, Lynn Smith, who sent that suggestion in. And I was like, that was a good one. Gabe Kapler. That's a good dude.
Well, good stuff as always. And that will do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Get in touch with us, podcast at MILB.com. We got more fun stuff coming up over the offseason, of course. But for Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Vaughn. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.